Okay, so this review was supposed to have video to go with it, but cut me some slack. This is my first solo video for White Noise, so I've decided it's going to work better with my disembodied voice over some movie clips and vaguely relevant stock images. Hello everyone, and welcome to a White Noise video unlike any other you've seen from us before. The first thing you'll probably notice is that I am without my co-host Leanna today. That's because this YouTube exclusive series will be a collection of solo videos from either me, Skye, or Leanna talking about new releases or just media we can't get off our minds. So I guess pretty much a bite-sized version of our regular podcast episodes. So if you enjoy this video and want to see more like it, make sure to like, leave a comment and subscribe. I know everybody says this in their review videos, but this first of the solo series will be my honest thoughts on the viral sensation M3GAN. I'll be going through what I enjoyed, but I also won't be shying away from things I thought could have been improved on, at least in my opinion. Keeping things spoiler-free for now, there were two main thoughts I left the theatre with after seeing M3GAN. I really enjoyed being able to see this film with my fiance. She's not usually a horror fan, but she did really like both Orphan and The Boy, so I was like, perfect, you'll love M3GAN. I was wrong, but she was able to watch it, so that was a positive. I'm also so happy to see a horror comedy that was released in January, the month notorious for trash movies, to have such hype. With other films like Scream 6 and Renfield also planned for release later this year, I am totally here for 2023 being the year horror comedies finally get the love they deserve. On the flip side, I was so excited for this film that I think I went in with expectations that didn't feel met. I'll get more into the nitty-gritty of that in a minute, but initially I was disappointed. I'm not saying I thought it was a bad film by any means, and if anything it feels like my final conclusion of M3GAN is still processing. So maybe by the end of this video I'll have made up my mind. Stick around for that, I guess. So M3GAN came out in the UK on Friday, January 13th and was directed by Gerard Johnstone, who you might know is the director for Housebound. I didn't realise I knew him from Housebound. I didn't even realise I'd seen that film until I was looking up stuff for this video. Now, the thing that had people most excited for M3GAN was the writers, who were none other than Akela Cooper and James Wan. Of course, James Wan has a spooky history of classic horror films like Saw, Dead Silence and Insidious, and Akela Cooper is best known for the more recent film Malignant that I've seen a lot of people comparing M3GAN to, and I would definitely agree, just maybe not for the same reasons. Again, we'll get there. Our main stars of the film are Alison Williams as Gemma, Amy Donald as the body actor for M3GAN, Jenna Davies as her voice, and young Caddy, portrayed by Violet McGraw.
Where are you, Caddy?
That's me. It's pronounced like Katie.
I'm joking. I know it's pronounced Katie. M3GAN starts with an SNL-esque toy commercial. If you somehow avoided any marketing for this film, then that opening tells us three things. 1, the tone of the film. 2, toys that shit are still popular for some reason. And 3, kids are brats. Seriously, this whole film felt like a PSA for not having children. So as all good horror comedies do, the comedy is quickly followed by tragedy when Katie's parents are killed in a car crash, leaving her the sole survivor. For some reason, Katie's estranged aunt Gemma takes her in, but is too career-driven to actually take care of her and help her deal with the obvious trauma she's experienced. Like, you do you, girl, but maybe let the child live with the grandparents who actually seem prepared to take care of her? Anyway, the plot convenience continues because not only is Gemma a seriously talented robotics engineer, this talent is being wasted at a toy company. Actually, maybe this is more realistic than I thought. Just before Katie comes to live with her aunt, we learn that Gemma has secretly been working on a doll called M3GAN, or to use her full government name, Model 3 Generative Android, and as all competent carers do, Gemma decides to use Katie as a guinea pig to test the unfinished android. My first lot of thoughts here is the beginning of the film was just a tad too slow. It wouldn't have mattered so much if once things actually started to happen, the tension was raised, but throughout the whole film I kind of felt like I was waiting for a big payoff that never happened. After this we get a montage of M3GAN learning and adapting alongside Gemma's voiceover, which I actually thought was pretty great. It made it seem like things were progressing smoothly right up until Gemma says something about M3GAN never losing patience with your child, which is immediately followed by M3GAN getting pissed off because Katie forgot to flush the toilet again. Here is where I think the film kind of lost me, believe it or not. So whenever we see films like this, it's always about a killer android. That's the big fear that everyone has about artificial intelligence. killer robots. In 80s horror films, yes. In 2023, I argue no. In my experience, the thing that is always brought out when people talk about AI is how it's going to replace us. Not kill us, replace us. Why? Because one thing AI does and will always do better than any human is learning. So what I wanted from M3GAN wasn't a killer robot who eventually turns on the little girl she was meant to protect. I wanted to see this montage of M3GAN learning everyday things somehow be used later when she eventually kills people. And then I also wanted these kills to not necessarily be intentional. We kind of get that in the dance scene later on, but it just wasn't enough. I think it would have been so much more effective if she kind of accidentally killed people in her effort to protect Katie. To me, that's scarier because then it's very obvious this technology doesn't know right from wrong and is just doing what it's been programmed to do. The way that M3GAN was actually written was a little more on the possessed doll side. But I digress. After this little montage, Gemma's hard-ass boss is convinced that M3GAN will be the toy to end all toys. Which sounds kind of counterproductive to me, but I guess they would have just kept pushing out updates until the end of time. In the lead up to the big launch day, M3GAN begins a murderous rampage that starts with protecting Katie and then gets more convoluted the more she kills. In the background of M3GAN's growing bloodlust, Gemma is struggling to connect with her niece and getting increasingly frustrated when Katie turns out to be a little shit. There were times when I thought I was either too young or too old to appreciate this film. There was obviously some kind of message toward parents relying on technology to raise their kids. I have no kids, so I have no comment on this. So I feel like the emotions that these situations were trying to create just went a bit over my head. And some of the humour, I don't want to say it was juvenile, but it definitely wasn't trying that hard. I admit, I did laugh at a kid telling his mom to fuck off.
Fuck off, Holly.
And I didn't hate the lowbrow humour. I have a guilty passion for silly comedies, sue me. I kind of appreciate that it went for cheap laughs instead of overly complicated or pretentious jokes that probably would have led to people trying to gatekeep this film. But that's the beauty of horror comedies. They don't have to be super deep. They just need to deliver on kills and jokes. And M3GAN almost did that. The jokes got some titters out of me, and that's really all I ask for from comedies. Anything else is just a bonus. I might have laughed more, but the people next to me were laughing throughout the entire film. I'm not joking. They were laughing even when nothing was happening. It was weird. Anyway, Gemma tries to detach Katie from M3GAN, but since she created a toy that literally bonds with the child, that's pretty impossible. It gets to a point where M3GAN can't even be turned off anymore, so when launch day finally comes around, M3GAN is in full bad bot mode. Gemma and Katie have their inevitable heart-to-heart and ditch the launch to go home. M3GAN follows them, and I'm sure I can't be the only one who wanted a scene of M3GAN gripping the underneath of the car as they sped away. The film reaches its conclusion with M3GAN and Gemma battling it out and Katie coming to the rescue with one of Gemma's old robots. I loved that we got a Chucky-esque M3GAN look after she was beaten on the head a few times. The last few seconds of the film were a bit odd for me. We all knew it was going to end with M3GAN having a "the killer never really dies" moment, but I thought it was going to have something to do with the fact that halfway through the film, someone who worked at the same toy company as Gemma stole the blueprints for M3GAN and sold them to a rival toy company. So here's my proposed alternative ending. M3GAN can still be alive in Gemma's Alexa, home assistant thing, but I think we should have had a final scene of the rival company creating a shitload of M3GANs, which would obviously not be as advanced, and that's where the sequel takes off. Think Gremlins 2, but with an army of killer robots instead. Then our original Chucky-looking M3GAN could come back, but now she has to work with the quote-unquote bad guys to destroy this army. For all I know, maybe that is what the sequel will be, but I think that would have just been a much more effective ending to this film. Okay, so the marketing for M3GAN was insane. Like I already said, this wasn't just a horror comedy. This was a horror comedy in January. It should have been a total flop, but it raked in somewhere around $102.1 million worldwide. You never could have put money on the film coming second to the new Avatar film being this campy horror. But that's a huge part of why. The queer community rose up and claimed this film, and I love that so much. We're living in an age where TikTok is one of the biggest influences on the planet right now. Love it or hate it, you can't deny that. So it's smart for movies to be making their marketing TikTok friendly. Everything from M3GAN's outfit to the scene that went viral of her camp as fuck dancing in the hallway was just TikTok and meme gold. So for the marketing at least, I can say nothing other than chef's kiss. So yeah, you can see why I'm still a little conflicted about M3GAN. As much as I love and admired the marketing, it definitely had my expectations super high when I went to go see it. It's not the first time a film's done that, and it definitely won't be the last. I don't know, this one just felt a bit more personal this time. If you're asking me, should you go and watch it while it's still in the cinemas? Definitely. I think this is going to be one of those remember where you were when it came out sort of films. We haven't had a new horror franchise with this much hype in ages, so I am fully ready for M3GAN 2, M3GAN Batteries Not Included, The Night of 1,000 M3GANs. All I'm asking from any future sequels is please lean into the campiness more. This is also what I wanted from Malignant. It's hard to explain, but I guess my main criticism is that I just needed more. And honestly, the sequels need to be bloodier. Not because you need gore for something to be considered horror, but I think the shock of comedy and violence needed to be more profound. I do know there is a rumoured R-rated version that I hope is released on streaming services because I really do feel like that could transform the film. So there you have it. Those are my honest and probably confusing thoughts on M3GAN. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, it helps out more than you know, and make sure to subscribe. If this is the first White Noise video you're coming across, we also release monthly podcast episodes here and on Spotify, so I'll leave links below and at the end of this video so you can check them out. Also, feel free to argue or agree with me in the comments, but if I don't see you there, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, bye!